I know this video isn't similar to my other videos on my channel, but since it's Halloween, I thought I'd tell you guys a true story from my past about living in a haunted house. Before we get started, I'd like to say that I don't know what the fuck it was. All I know is what I saw and what I heard. I also did not believe in ghosts or whatever it was or anything along the lines of that as a kid. I thought ghosts were made up and just for fun, for entertainment, just like zombies. I wasn't religious. I was always skeptical of things that I couldn't see for myself. And after experiencing what happened there is no way for me to logically deny that there are things out there that we can't explain. I'm going to tell you what I saw and heard first because I only found out about the other events after we moved. My mom didn't want to scare me, so she didn't tell me until we moved. And I'm glad she didn't because after what I saw, I was already basically shitting myself anytime I was alone day or night. And if she had told me, I probably wouldn't have been able to stay there. When I was 8, I was pulled out of school and went into homeschooling for a few months because we were moving to San Luis Obispo. During this time, I pretty much just played games and had friends over. One day, my brother was playing some new game that I really wanted to play, and I was being a little bitch whining about it in his room as he was playing it. He finally kicked me out, and I sat on the ground in the hallway next to his door while continuing to whine. It was daytime, and the sunlight was coming into the hallway, so it wasn't dark at all. We had open riser stairs, so you could clearly see everything on the other side. As I was whining at his door, I saw someone come out of my parents' room, which is directly down the hall, and I had a clear view of it through the stairs. This picture on the screen that I made is pretty much a perfect representation of my view on the ground. So this is my brother's room, and my room is back here, and my parents' room is straight across through the stairs. So I saw someone come out of my parents' room. As I turned my head, I automatically assumed it was my stepdad because he was the only one home other than my brother and I. But I knew he was in the loft working 2 stories up. So as I was opening my mouth to talk to him, it stepped out of the room. It was about 6'2", pitch black, shaped like a man, and its body was facing forward, but its head was already twisted to face me. The way its head was turned looked so unnatural, it was so freaky. I immediately froze, staring at it as it stared back at me. I was unable to move any part of my body. I wasn't able to blink or even slightly speak. I felt like I was trapped in my body trying as hard as I could to scream for my stepdad. After a few seconds, it started to slowly walk down the hallway towards me. Incredibly slow, like it was going so fucking slow. I don't even know how you can walk that slow. It was pretty much like slow motion, staring at me the entire time. After about a minute, it finally got to about a few feet from me. I stared at it the entire time, unable to move. I didn't blink at all. I couldn't blink. As it was approaching me, it was still staring down at me. I had an overwhelming feeling of death, like I was about to be killed, like it was that bad. I still wasn't able to close my eyes at this point. I was forced to stare at it the entire fucking time. And as I got about 2 feet from me, I just stared at it as it stared down at me. I thought that it was going to do something to me, but then my brother opened his door and it disappeared. It was really fucking great timing. I don't know what would have happened if my brother didn't open the door. And after all of that, I couldn't sleep alone or with the lights off, and it became super hard for me to be in a room alone while in that house. Shortly after that, we rented out the house and moved to San Luis Obispo, but then we moved back about a 1.5 years later. The first night we arrived back in the Lake Arrowhead house, a bunch of my friends came over to spend the night. We all slept in one room and my mom was there as well. We were all exhausted and fast asleep. And luckily we were all heavy sleepers. We pretty much never woke up to anything except for my mom, who wakes up to the tiniest of sounds. That night there was loud stomping right above our heads from the kitchen above us. My mom was the only one awake in the house listening to the stomping, unable to sleep because of the noise. When I was 10 years old, it was lunchtime and I was in the kitchen with my mom and stepdad. We were the only ones home, no one else. and none of us were making any noise. Suddenly, my mom and I heard a woman scream dramatically, like someone was being fucking mauled. It was that dramatic. It came from my mom's room downstairs, and it was incredibly loud. We both instantly ran downstairs thinking there was actually someone in there screaming, but no one was there. We searched the whole house and couldn't find anyone. We were the only ones home. It was also strange that only my mom and I heard the scream at the same time. My stepdad didn't hear anything, and he was standing right next to us. Now I'm going to go back and tell you the full story that I didn't hear until we left the house in order to protect me from freaking out too much while living there. I was 6 years old living in Del Mar, and my mom had just gotten remarried, and shortly after they bought a house in Lake Arrowhead. My parents had toured the house a few times and everything seemed fine. The first day they moved in, right as my mom entered the house, she had an overwhelming, horrible, dark, ominous feeling. She turned to my stepdad and said, "You're going to think I'm crazy, but I feel that this was a mistake. We need to leave and sell the house." Which of course sounds crazy. They just bought this gorgeous house and we were all ready to start our lives there, so we stayed, hoping that it would be fine. And of course it wasn't. After living in the house for only a few months, one night my mom was woken up to someone aggressively whispering her name next to her face, "Alana," while shoving the bed repeatedly. Hard enough to shake it. The bed was made out of thick, solid, heavy wood. It would have taken a lot of strength to shove hard enough to move it like that. After about 8 months of living in that house, my mom was about to walk down the stairs during the daytime. As she was taking her first step down the stairs, she was shoved on the back of her shoulder. But thankfully she caught herself and it wasn't enough to push her down the stairs. She turned around quickly and caught a short glimpse of a man that was pitch black. Shortly after that, my grandparents came to visit and I gave them my room to sleep in. My grandpa was on my bed and my grandma was on the pull-out bed. After the first night, my grandpa went to my mom that next morning looking terrified and told her, "Mija, you know I don't talk about this stuff. I don't believe this kind of stuff, but there was something in that room. It was under the bed. It pushed me up. It actually woke me. It felt like something very dark." My grandpa hadn't been told about anything that had happened in the house before his experience. After we had moved from San Luis Obispo back into the house in Lake Arrowhead, my mom was in the loft on the 3rd floor lying down. As she laid there, her entire face instantly became so cold that it felt frozen. Then she felt pressure on her chest like someone was sitting on her. She could feel something close to her face, and it lasted an entire minute until she got up. In October, the year before we sold the house and moved away permanently, my aunt came to stay with us for a while. She fell ill around Halloween, so she couldn't come trick-or-treating with us. Right after we all left on Halloween night, she was home alone, and she says that she felt a presence on the deck that she described as very dark. She said the presence was so powerful, she tried hard not to look at it. She's religious, so she immediately began to pray. My dog planted herself next to my aunt and stared out at the deck, alert, like something was there. And she only ever does that if there is actually something there. Near the end of living in that house, my mom was laying down in the loft again. It was nighttime and she was wide awake. As she laid there, she heard a cry next to her, like a kid or a woman sitting close to her whimpering. She tried to look for it but couldn't see it. She could only hear it. Throughout the entire time living there, I was typically up late and I would go to the kitchen to get milk or water in the middle of the night. I swear, even before I saw that shadow figure or heard that scream, when I had no reason to believe that ghosts or whatever the fuck they were exist, I swear each night I was up there, I felt like there were people staring at me. I didn't feel that way when I stayed at my friends' houses, only in that house. I figured it was nothing and just kept walking around by myself at night until I saw that shadow figure. But I saw that during broad daylight, so I guess timing doesn't really matter much. Then we sold the house, rented another place in Lake Arrowhead for a short period of time, then moved to San Francisco when I was 11. There's more to the story, but it's mostly just speculation about the house and what happened there. Our old neighbor was there throughout it being built, and he told us some strange stuff about it. I might do a follow-up video if you guys are interested. Also, I have more true stories involving ghosts, or whatever you want to call them, that are from my family. I might make more storytime videos on them if I get the permission to share those stories. Anyways, guys, I hope you have a great Halloween, or I hope you had a great Halloween depending on how long this video takes to upload to YouTube.